This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
Welcome to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. This is the final cast segment with your hosts Brad Hicks and Josh Eldridge, where we cast our final opinions on all products, good and bad. Welcome to the final cast. You're listening to the final cast on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. I am Brad.
And I'm Josh.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Wanted to try to do some fishing today, but the gale force winds we had consistently all day kept that from happening. So
I was outside cutting plywood and all that crap all day long, dude. So I was getting it in my mouth and down my shirt, and it sucked. Man, it was windy today.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, but today it stunk because I had some fish to upgrade in the monthlies in the charity tournament, but because today's the last day, they're only doing them for 21 days as opposed to the
KBF monthly.
Yeah, I don't know if you had noticed one Chad's videos. He talked about shortening them, and so they run from the 1st to the 21st or so, something like that. So today was the last day, so I was kind of bummed not to get on the water, but oh well, no big deal.
What do you know what you placed?
I want to say probably 17th or 18th out of 43.
That's pretty good.
I had 83, but I definitely could have upgraded probably at least potentially all 4 fish if I'd have been out a little bit more, I had a 19, a couple 16 3/4 and a couple of 15 3/4 and a 15 1/2. So definitely could have upgraded the 2 15s at least, and potentially, the other 2 16s. So I don't know. It's kind of rough, man. Like the other day we went out and I did a new section of the river and it looked so promising. It looked so good. It was a juicy spot, definitely. And it just didn't pan out, man. I got one bite hooked into what felt like a good fish off of a eddy, and on the edge of the eddy there's this log that lays straight out into the water. It's completely submerged right now. You can see the end of it when the water's down, but right now it's sitting completely like underwater. You can just see the backside of it in the shallow water. It's only like 2 feet deep, but it goes out to be like 20 feet deep where this eddy runs. And I hooked that fish right on the opposite end of the log. I was sitting on one side of it, and I thought I actually was snagged on the log, and dude, he took me for a ride. I had him, and about 3 seconds in the fight, I felt my lure come loose, and so I was kind of bummed. It was the only bite I had all day, too.
Excuse me. That reminded me of another time I caught a fish last summer. I cast it over a log on accident. I was bringing it up out of the water slowly, and I was about to jerk it so it would come back over the log, and a fish hit it. So I had to pull that fish up over like 3 foot of log I was sticking in the air.
Yeah,
it was funny.
But it was that was actually on Sunday when you were fishing the PNF host tourney bracket, man, which you ended up beating Ricketts with 3 fish, right?
Yeah,
you caught 3. Did he only caught the 119?
Yeah, his was huge.
That was a good fish, man. It was awesome seeing it live and everything.
Yeah, he got excited. That was funny. Give a few like yells, hollers, whatever.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
But so yeah, and then our other tournament matchup was Josh Smith and Ryan Milford, and Josh Smith was fishing in what looked like a New York hurricane.
Yeah.
And both of them skunked out, so they have a rematch coming up on Friday for 2 hours. I think it's from 12 to 2, something like that.
He said best 5 fish limit.
Yeah, I don't know why they just didn't make it 3, but I mean, they didn't catch 5 in 4 hours, let alone try to do it in 2. But I mean, if they do it, cool. I mean, that'd be awesome. So it doesn't matter really,
I hope somebody just catches 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it happens, man. I mean, like I said, I spent 7 hours, 8 hours on the river, had one bite, lost that fish, So
Yeah.
and that was the same day you were on the river. I think they're really specific where they're at right now, and
Oh yeah.
and if they're not there, they weren't biting real well. I don't think it wasn't like a crazy day that day. So as far
No.
as but they're also in completely different parts of the country. Josh was dealing with some severe weather. And then Milford, I don't know what his weather was like down there. It didn't seem too hateful, so we could hear him pretty clear.
He was sunny in like upper 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
He had like mid 50 water temperatures and stuff.
Yeah.
When is your matchup?
May 3rd. May 3rd.
Oh.
Not this Sunday, but the following Sunday.
Gotcha.
I got some spots to try to go to check out before then, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I saw your comment. You said Land of Giants.
or like Brian's calling them Jaints.
Yeah.
Some Jaints.
Yeah. That's funny.
But well, other than that, man, we Brad and I decided we're gonna do a episode on different batteries that we've used for our kayaks. I know Brad and I both have primarily just used our batteries so far for fish finders. We don't have lights or anything hooked up. But we do have like recommendations as far as like, how much power you'd want to get in your battery if you do want to run extra stuff. So we both are familiar with quite a few anglers that, run multiple batteries. So we could kind of touch on that a little bit too. But Brad will start us off. I think Brad has more experience with different batteries than I do. I've used 2 different kinds so far. Brad, I know, has at least used 4.
Man, but I've been through so many batteries over the past 7 years. It's not even funny.
Yeah. So we'll kind of explain why that. So you want to go ahead and start us off with your first one that you ever ran?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what brand. Actually, it might have been Wilderness Sportsman Outdoors type battery. I don't know. It was some brand like that. Sealed lead acid battery. I believe it was 7 amp hour. That battery didn't last me that long. I don't know. You've used lead acid batteries, and it seems like they last a year and then that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of factors that kind of come into play with that. My first one was sitting behind me. It's this little one right here. It's actually a fairly big battery. It's a 12 amp hour battery from Power Stroke. This battery, I think I've seen it a lot in like, kids' big wheel toys, that sort of thing.
Things are heavy too.
Yeah. It is super heavy, man. This thing weighs probably, I want to say close to, I would say between 8 to 10 pounds by itself.
I was about to say the smaller ones that are the same size as Dakota's batteries, those are double the size of the Dakota battery, or in weight at least.
So it's a Power Sonic battery. It's a SLA. It's rechargeable, sealed lead acid. It says constant voltage charge. It's a decent battery. I bought this locally at a shop that produces like industrial batteries. Kind of specifically, he's kind of specialized in forklift batteries. So I had gone to just like Batteries Plus to originally buy a battery, and they had like Duracell ones or something, sealed lead acids, and everybody was telling me about the cost of these. You could get them cheap, and you can through like Amazon and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I was also afraid of having like a high shipping charge because of what these are.
Oh, dude.
And so I was when I originally bought mine, I went with 2 of these. Mm-hmm. And I put them in that battery box that's behind me, which is the Yak Power waterproof box. And that box weighed 26 pounds. So I had two 12, so it was 24 amp hours worth of battery, and it weighed 26 pounds. it lasted a long time. I could take that thing for the weekend and not have to charge it. That was my goal, because a lot of times when we go camping or whatnot, especially if you tend to get near the water, you tend to have sites that don't have electric. So that was kind of my goal, is to not have to worry about charging with the truck. You wouldn't be a big deal, but I have exhaust, like an aftermarket exhaust on my truck. So like starting it up at the campsite, it's kind of loud and obnoxious.
Yeah.
So I ran that battery setup last year and I got aggravated with it because it weighed so much, man. Like I could feel the difference in my kayak and how it performed with that battery sitting in the front storage area.
So I would talk about the weight real quick, because you said that battery box was 20 something pounds.
20. I think I threw it on the scale, so it was between 24 to 26 pounds. Well, I had two of them, two of the 12 amp hour batteries in it.
Yeah. The Dakota Lithium 54 amp hour is 17 pounds. And I believe the 100 amp hour is like 27 pounds.
Yep.
Something like that. So that's crazy.
And if you were to get an SLA battery for, say, like a Torpedo, one of those type of batteries, it weighs a ton.
You got to get a deep cycle.
Yeah. And you're looking at what, like 50 something pounds probably easily, like, because these batteries are almost double the weight of what, these other, the Dakota, like, versus like what Dakota is. So like, Brad, you want to give us some more experiences on the other, your other batteries, and what you think is caused like such a short lifespan on SLAs?
Yeah, the SLA, so a lot of people don't realize that if you run them down all the way until they die, it actually damages the cell inside of it. And that's what causes the battery life to not last as long as it should. I believe that is why my batteries didn't even last a year. I would run those things sometimes like multiple trips until it completely died. And after reading and looking into it and everything, that's not the correct way you should be using an SLA battery. They got voltage meters on fish finders now, and I always read that once you get to around like 11.1 to 10.9 volts, you need to stop using that battery. And you need to and you need to recharge it, because, like I said, you run it down, it's going to damage the cells, and then the battery's going to be useless. Which is, you've ran into that problem with some of your batteries before. I've ran into it with like 4 batteries before. So
yeah, and it's weird because on that battery, on the SLA, the one I just showed, that battery says it has a constant voltage. Whether that's true or not, I have no idea. I've tested it and never saw it drop between 12.0, but I did sell Brad the other one of the battery, the SLA that I just showed, and Brad only got maybe 1 or 2 uses of it where it completely crapped out, which surprised me because the last time I'd used it, it wasn't like that. Now I am new to the battery game. Last year was the first year that I had them with the fish finder, and I didn't know how to properly store them, and I hadn't done any research in regards to that. So if you guys are in the market and you have batteries, especially SLA batteries and even lithium batteries, read up about them, research them on YouTube, find out what you need to do storage wise. Those batteries, the reason I probably ruined the battery that Brad ended up having, and that one is probably potentially ruined also, is because I did not fully charge them to store them. And I think you're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And I kept them out in my garage throughout the winter time. So I know that cold weather can damage the battery cells as well. Not cold water, but weather.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. A lot of people keep their batteries in the garage all winter long and stuff. They don't charge them before they store them away for the season. You got to do that. Right now, I have all my batteries sitting on the floor right now. They're all fully charged, ready to go for the next trip. I keep them inside all year round.
Yeah. See, I didn't kind of even think about that. I get real lazy towards the end of the season because I start trying to push little trips in here and there, and I unpack my stuff sort of, but I keep it in the garage ready to kind of load up. And that was one thing I meant to do, but I did not do. I mean, I just finally straightened this room out. You can actually see the table and my desk now. It's been a mess since, last year's season. So that's one thing I think I need to work on, is get more organized and just do more research on the things, purchases like that to help kind of keep things the way they should be running.
Yeah.
But yeah, they work. SLAs work. They are definitely cheaper. But if you want something that's not nearly as heavy, you'll definitely want to look for lithium batteries, so it's definitely, anybody who asks me, well, that's really a high cost. To me, dude, that cost difference in lithium being much higher was well worth it when I finally got a 23 amp battery, which is basically the equivalent of what I had. And it weighs, in that box right there, it weighs 6 to 7 pounds.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're looking at like a 17. See, I can't say exactly what the weight is because I'm throwing them on a normal, dietary scale that you just step on, like.
Well, heck, let's look it up right now. You got the 23 amp hour?
Yeah.
I just looked up the deep cycle. They're 60 pounds.
Yeah.
And then the 23 amp hour Dakota lithium. Oh, come on. It gave me the wrong one. Went back to the 54. Crap, where's it at?
And to mention also, like Brad's talking about, like the constant voltage, you want to look at that. With my Dakota lithium batteries that I've ran, like when I have it fully charged, it comes reading on my voltage meter at 13.1. I've never seen it drop below that. It stays exactly at 13.1 every time I check it.
Yeah. 6.4 pounds.
6.4. So yeah,
that's crazy because that's double the size of the 10 amp hour that I have.
Yeah, it's
actually the height.
Yeah, it's the height. It's actually still thin. It's only probably about that thin now.
Okay.
So this battery right here is probably the same size. This one's just kind of short and fat compared to that other one, or to the Dakota Lithium 23 amp hour battery.
Yeah, that battery I didn't have an issue with. I did use it for a little bit, but it was just heavy, man. And it didn't fit in my dry pod either, because the dry pod's made for the skinny, regular battery that you see, sealed lead acid.
Yeah, so that was the original goal. I did 2 12s. They were wired in that box behind me, and it thing was so heavy that I eventually just stopped taking it. Like, everybody's got their fish finders. I'm like, I just didn't want to bring the battery, man. That thing weighs so much.
Yeah, I remember you saying that on our river trips.
Yeah, it's but now with the Dakota Lithium, it's so much nicer. It's so much easier. It doesn't really affect the performance of the boat, So, I mean, and not that the other one did, but it could potentially, like if it's sitting off like one side or the other side, not sitting like dead center, you could probably feel that weight, especially if you have some other things in your, like the one time I really felt it, I had my anchor, which is an 8-pound mushroom anchor on the same side that battery was sitting on in the boat, but the battery's up front and it was in the rear. But if I lean to the right, I could feel the kayak dip much further to the right than it did to the left. So
I read somebody posted in the Bonafide group they were using the what is that thing called, the cell block?
Yeah,
they were using the cell block on a gear track, and they said they could feel their kayak like tilt to the side a little bit more because of it. I thought it was interesting.
Definitely, if you're using a heavy enough SLA battery, you can feel that for sure. And whether it's something that bothers you, that'd be something that's a personal type of, a personal feeling like of, I like that, or I don't like it, or it does bother you, or it does not. It's kind of like that, even when I ran that heavy battery setup for a while, it wasn't awful, but it was annoying carrying that thing around. Like every time I packed it up, because I would put my battery box and all my like Yak Attack accessory stuff I needed to rig up, fish finder, all in like like a milk crate, and I'd carry it. Dude, that thing would just weigh so much with so much stuff, and I'm like, ugh. It's just, as soon as I switched over to Dakota lithium batteries, it was night and day difference, man.
Yeah. I want to go over a little bit how like you rig your batteries inside of a box and stuff. I see a lot of people asking the questions: what kind of connectors do you use? Inline fuses. So
Yeah. Well, I do not have it. Brad, you might be able to touch on this a little bit more than me. I bought a Yak Power box. It's 90 something dollars, $99. I had bought it originally with a bunch of like Yak Power stuff. So I bought like the connector from your fish finder wires. You had to hook it up because it's a SAE connection. So that's the port that's on the side of the box. I also wanted to put the box inside the front storage compartment of the Coosa HD. So I had to buy a connection but I didn't want to have wires coming out of the lid. Mm-hmm. So I drilled a hole in the wall between, the cockpit open area of the boat into where the storage area, front storage bin is. And so I had to drill a hole in a sense and then kind of carve it out with the screwdriver while it was running, like a power screwdriver that matched that SAE connection port. Wasn't a big deal. It actually went in smooth. I never had water, no leakage or anything like that. And it was a SAE connection wire to there. Now that box has the actual, I think if I remember correctly, the actual connection from the fish finder wiring to the SAE connection, it just kind of made it an SAE connection instead of just being bare wires, right? That had a fuse on it. And then there's actually a fuse inside the box as well. And then there were the F-type connections. I think there's, if I remember correctly, it's F1 and F2 type of connectors. The connectors that were on my battery versus the ones that are actually inside the box were different, but you can actually buy little adapters. So it's like the F1 turns it into an F2 connection. I'm not 100% sure which is which, to be honest with you. But I had to get those from the battery supplier when I bought that the SLA battery. So I have no experience in electronics like that to be able to build a box like that. I wish I did, because I wanted to build a different box for the Dakota lithium batteries I have, but I just ended up using the Yak Power box again because it was wired up, and I sat down with a buddy of mine, Mike, and he was like, well, yeah, you can utilize it. There's nothing wrong with the box, and instead of spending money trying to build another one, let's just utilize this. And in that box, though, there's actually 3 sets of connectors. So you could, the battery box was set up to run like 1 big battery or 2 medium batteries or 3 small batteries. So you could actually fit 7 SLA batteries inside that box, and it had the connectors for all 3.
Yeah. That's cool.
So what I did with the Dakota lithium was took 2 of them and doubled it up onto the post for it. Now the 23 amp hour battery doesn't have those F-type connections. It has the little circle type connectors, like the regular battery terminal kind of connectors that a lot of people are used to. You would see like on your car or something like that. But
Spade terminal. Spade terminal connectors. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what the circle ones are called. I was going to ask you about that though.
I'm not 100% sure what they're called. Like I said,
I was going to ask you what that battery had, what kind of terminals. So
yeah,
it has the circle.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's got a post, slides down on it, screw it down. So
okay, that's cool. So my battery box, I think I did build my own actually, and what I did was I got a one of those large watertight boxes from Field and Stream or Walmart or something. It fit a lead acid battery in there perfectly, with some room to play for your wires and everything. But so what I did was drilled a hole, and then I found these connectors. It's a watertight thing before the Yak Attack through hull kit came out. They were called cable glands, and you unscrewed one side, you put that in the hole that you drilled, and you screwed it in, and that's what held it to the box. And then you ran your wires through that. It had like a rubber thing that when you twisted down the other nut outside of the box, it like squeezed together that rubber around the wire and made it watertight. So that's how I ran my wires into the box. I used the spade terminal connectors. Like I know a lot of people out there ask the question, well, what kind of connections are those? You can get those anywhere. Like I think I got mine at AutoZone. I've seen them at Walmart. They're cheap. You get like 20 of them for like $3.
Oh, you probably get them at any hardware store, really, right?
Yeah. Most fish finders do come with the inline fuse, but I have had a fish finder that didn't have one. And if your fish finder doesn't have one, you might want to put it on there anyway. Usually they're like 3 amp hour fuse or something like that. It's just a little extra protection. I've actually blown a fuse on one of my fish finders before. I don't know how it happened, but I had to replace the fuse, and without the fuse, who knows what would have happened to my fish finder, you know?
Yeah.
But other than that box turned out nice. I had the wires in there nice and neat, and connections were always right inside the box, so I could just unplug and plug back in real quick.
Yeah, one thing I kind of had an issue with the Yak Power connector, the one that turns your fish finder connections into an SAE wire connection like that, was the gauge of the wiring was much bigger on the Yak Power versus what my fish finder was. I was surprised how thin the wires are for the fish finder. So when I did mine, I connected them with a butt connector, but it was really hard to kind of get that to sit good. So like after I like heat shrunk everything, there was still a gap. So I ended up putting electrical tape real tight all the way around that connection because I didn't like it. It didn't feel very water sealed. Like it bothered me a lot, man, for a long time. So that it's kind of messy looking, but it's worked and served its purpose. So I haven't had any issues. The only issues, and I don't know if this is battery related or not, but my fish finder, for some reason, it's like the transducer like freezes up and stops reading, but my fish finder stays powered. I haven't figured out what's going on with that yet, but
I saw you post in the Garmin group. Did you ever get any like answers?
Oh, everybody just tells me to contact Garmin customer service. So
yeah, you bought that a few years ago too, though, right?
Yeah, about 2 years ago. So
is it still under warranty?
I don't know. Possibly. It may not even be that. Maybe it was the old battery setup. I don't know. I have no idea, to be honest with you. So I did find that I had a blown fuse on one of my or on that inline fuse thing. So I would think though that the power would have been completely cut out. Like so. But, the one thing I do really like about the Yak Power Box, and this is why I ended up just keeping it instead of attempting to build one, I think I could have figured out to do like how you did yours. It's a pretty simple like fix. I thought about doing the same thing, but I also wanted to have 2 USB ports.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where my knowledge of how to wire something out kind of got like a little on, the inexperienced side. I'm like, how do you wire that stuff together for it to not do damage to the battery or whatnot? So I ended up just obviously keeping the Yak Power Box because it does have 2 USB ports on it, because I plan on running like, some video and stuff for some GoPros, and I'm trying to wire up my GoPros to have a constant power supply as opposed to sitting there changing out batteries, at least on 2 of them. So that'll be nice to have that ability to do it. So
yeah, since we're on the subject of talking about battery boxes, I'm gonna freaking grab mine here real quick. I just got this and I absolutely love it. I didn't think I'd use it as much as I have already, but man,
the Power Box 10.
Yep, Dakota Lithium Power Box 10. It comes with a 10 amp hour lithium ion battery inside. This is cool, man. It has the two USB ports, and then one of those 12-volt things that plugs into a cigarette lighter in a truck or something. And then it has these two terminals here. And this is cool because you can unscrew those all the way up. You hit the power button, and then you hit this other button here, and you plug your charger to it. And you can charge the battery inside here without having to take the battery out of the box.
Yeah.
And then that also serves another purpose of like connecting wires to it and stuff,
Yeah.
Like if you want to connect your fish finder right to this and just have that as your battery box, there's actually holes down here. If you unscrew these black things, there's holes in the post right there for wires, and then you just tighten it down.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. And then the last cool thing about this box is it has the light.
Heck yeah.
And it is super bright. I don't know how many lumens it is, but man, it's bright.
And it's nice too because you have the ability to cut the power to your fish finder just by pressing a button.
Yeah. The whole power button right here it shuts the whole box off.
Yeah.
It's cool. Right?
That's another nice feature too about that Yak power box. It has a power, on off switch as well. So
yeah, you guys look in there. It has all the crazy wiring and stuff. They do it the right way. It's nice.
Yeah,
I'm glad I got it. During the whole live feed, I had my phone connected to it, sitting up by my feet.
Yeah, and you didn't have any power issues at all, did you?
No, not at all. It was nice. That's my only experience with like a professional box. So yeah. I don't really, I've always DIY'd something.
Yeah. It's a difference though. I mean, like you said, you got when you look at that wiring, would you have been able to sit down and been like, oh, I know how to do that? I opened mine up. I'm like, no.
Well, I probably not, but I know how to, I can wire a house.
Yeah.
So I might be able to figure out jimmy rig something if I wanted to make one of these, but I don't know if I'd be able to do it to this professional level.
Yeah, it's kind of like the thing of like thinking of this too, like, oh man, where's all the the glue placement? What's the best spots where you don't accidentally glue something that shouldn't have glue on it, or that sort of thing. So
yeah. Well, guess we can go into the actual batteries itself.
Yeah, or you want to talk about any of the other batteries that you've had that you have experience with?
Well, I had the Naqua battery, but I only used it for one trip.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I liked it. I was gonna like it. I was planning on using it all year round. And from what I saw and looked at it, it was nice. It felt nice. It was really lightweight.
Yeah, it's tiny too. Like,
yeah,
it's a small
super
battery.
tiny, super tiny. It's just like a Klondike bar. That's like that. That's the best explanation I can give to you. That battery was nice. I think I would have liked it.
You want to talk about the issue you had with it, and let people know kind of like what they can do to resolve it, especially if they run into the same problem you ended up having?
Yeah, I had that battery for like 3 months maybe. I bought it over the winter, beginning of winter. The charger, when I went to go charge it, well, to make sure it was charged before my first trip this year, the charger completely stopped working, and I charged it once before that.
How'd you figure out that what was wrong that kind of cued that? Did you check the voltage? It was bad, or?
No, it's actually a common problem with Naqua old chargers that the light indicator for the charger doesn't light up, and that just means you got a faulty charger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was sitting there trying to charge it, and the light wasn't coming on or anything. And I was like, well, crap! I just watched a video recently showing that if the light's not working, then it's a faulty charger. So I actually bought it through Yak Attack, so I contacted them. They forwarded me to Naqua. I talked to them. I had to fill out a little form, and I mean, literally, not even 2 days, like 2 full days, 48 hours, I had a brand new charger.
Yeah, and it's a completely redesigned too, isn't it?
Yeah, and that charger has the 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100% indicator light on the charger. It's called the Pro Charger. It's a $35 upgrade, but they included it with the Naqua battery for 2020. So that's cool. That's a pretty common problem though, that a lot of people are complaining about the charger going bad.
Yeah, but you did like that battery overall, not at least the once that you got to use it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was easy to rig up. The thing I don't like about it is the connection. You push them together and you had to put you had to screw a little screw around it to tighten it together. I didn't like that. The screw didn't seem to want to catch sometimes. It just felt like it was stripped, I guess.
Yeah.
But other than that,
good battery. Yeah, I know people who use like Naqua, like they're religious with them, and they buy like multiple ones to run this, and that because of the size of them, man. They're so small that they're just not intrusive in your kayak. Like there's so many places you can put it, and and it's a nice setup. I'm actually thinking about getting one for like the GoPro to be able to run the GoPro continuously. So I plan on using my 23 amp hour battery up front and have a GoPro hooked up to a USB port there, and then have my fish finder hooked up to it, and then put a Naqua in the rear to run the rear camera.
That's a good idea. Those things are waterproof too, I think, or water resistant. I can't remember.
Yeah. The nice thing is there's like these points inside that Kilroy that I can like clip a carabiner to it, and I think I like little, it's like a piece of cordage, and I could just hang it on there, I think.
Yeah. Are you talking about the case that encloses the battery?
I think I could figure out something. I mean, all you have to do is
I think it did have a little loop thing in there where you could connect it to something. I can't remember though.
Yeah. I mean, even if that, I think I could just put a zip tie around it that's semi-tight, and then put a carabiner around it and clip it onto that. And it would just be up off the bottom of the boat. You know what I mean? Because that boat gets water in it. Mm-hmm. Because it's set inside, there's no drainage. So that's one thing I've got to be really careful about, is electronics being on the floor of that boat. So
yeah,
even with that battery box, I mean, the battery box is waterproof, but you can't say those connection points are, where a USB plugs in. Like,
yeah, I didn't think about that. So interesting. That the Naqua battery, they have a splitter or something like that where you can connect 2 of those Naqua batteries together and make it a 20 amp battery.
Yeah. And then they also come with accessories too, where you have a USB port for them too. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, but yeah, as far as like, that's my experience with the batteries I've had. I know what's really super nice about Dakota Lithium, and this definitely sets them apart in my opinion, is that they have an 11-year warranty on their batteries, and I definitely know that SLA doesn't have a warranty like that on there. So, I mean, if at all, that thing might have a year warranty on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're usually a year, I think. That's another thing. I was going to mention that earlier when we were talking about sealed lead acid batteries. You go to places like Batteries Plus and stuff. Those batteries sit on the shelves 1, maybe 2 years, So
yeah.
by the time you purchase it, you're not getting a fresh battery. Dakota Lithium, they build them to order. That's why it takes so long for them to ship them out to you. They got to build the whole thing to order. You get it. It's a fresh battery. It's never been used. It'll last longer.
Yeah.
It's worth it. I love my battery. Like this 10 amp hour battery, I've been on 3 trips, 4 hours, 3-4 hours. I haven't even had to charge it.
Yeah.
In those 3 or 4 trips.
Yeah, it'll be crazy to use. I haven't had a chance to use the my SLA or versus like what the other one Dakota Lithium is, to see like how much difference it is. Like, because I haven't used it enough to say that, because I haven't taken it out with me. I haven't fished any lakes really yet. I took my fish finder out one time this year, and my um like something was wrong with that's when I figured out the fuse was blown. So, and I didn't have any extra fuses with me and stuff like that. So I ended up just packing it back in the truck and going out. So it'll be interesting to see like the difference in how long the 23 amp hour battery lasts
Oh my goodness.
versus, I mean, because the other one lasted a long time too. I mean, it was two 12 like SLA batteries. Like I know I would get easy 4 trips out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be like 6 to 7 hours of fishing. So, and I run a Garmin Striker 7 side view, so it doesn't pull a ton because it doesn't have a ton of extra features. Like it doesn't run like maps or anything like that. So, I think its draw is a little bit more minimal than some of the more higher end fish finders. So,
yeah, that's another thing. You got a more powerful fish finder, it's gonna take more juice to run it.
yeah.
I heard Craig Storms talking about Dakota Lithium running with certain fish finders on Yak Legion, and I think he said with like the ones that run more power, the 23 amp hour will run it for 3 days straight.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. Like if the SLA is doing that, I can imagine that Dakota Lithium is it's so much more efficient also.
Mm-hmm.
Like overall, just it's going the way it charges, the way it holds its voltage, just everything, the weight of it. It's just it's an easier battery to handle. It's much more expensive, but in my eyes, dude, the amount of money that I ended up putting into the SLA battery pack that I built wasn't that much of a difference, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, those batteries aren't that cheap when you buy them that big, and sometimes it depends on how you buy them. And I'm buying them at that one place, I think they were $60 something a piece. So that's $120, and the battery, the 23 amp battery that I have is 200 and between 230 and 260, I want to say. And so it's only like $100 difference, but the weight difference in my eyes was worth the $100 extra. Yeah. Now I know people build SLA batteries or buy them much, much, much more cheaper than what I did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Plus you're paying for quality too. I think that's made in America.
Yeah, and the warranty. I mean.
Yeah. Wait, dude, that's important to me. Made in America stuff's important to me. People make fun of me for saying that, but I'm just like, you know what? I don't care, dude. It's important to me. So
I was like, I mean, yeah, it's definitely, I mean, if you're a made in the USA person, definitely check out Dakota Lithium. If you were like me and you were like, dude, I hate this thing, it weighs as much as a car, it felt like at times, I was like, that's what ended up being important to me. And that's why I made the switch. Like I remember talking to you guys are like, what? How much is that battery? And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, man, it is worth it because of just the weight by itself. And then when you got your first one, you were like, I remember you were like, dude, it's incredible the amount of difference in weight of this box that I have versus the one I had when you had that 12 amp hour battery. Think about how heavy that stupid thing was.
Dude, I was afraid to drop that on my foot, like getting out of the truck. I would always cringe, like, oh, please don't do this. But hey, man, I know everybody's on a budget though, so yeah. I mean, if that's what you can afford, by all means, use it. Don't run it down until it's dead.
Yeah, like research it, find out what the proper charging procedures are. Proper storage things, because I know that I killed the SLAs that I had. Brad had the one. I think he got two trips out of it. He's like, dude, this thing's dead already. And I'm like, yeah, sorry about that. And when I gave it to you though, it read good, but that's the thing. I've heard that when those things go, they just go. Like it doesn't, they don't like slowly fade away. It's either full on or nothing at all. So
yeah, it is weird. I don't get it, but have you ever watched a video on how like a lithium ion battery is made?
No, I have not.
I might have to link that when we do the show post because it's kind of interesting. I watched like a 6-minute video about a month ago, and like the cells inside of that, it's weird that like they come in sheets, and it looks like they compress it all together. There's like hundreds of sheets in there, and
Yeah.
it's a process. I know that like they got to hang them, let the stuff dry, and it's weird. Cool
But
though, it's interesting.
Yeah, and you definitely you want to definitely check out proper storage and charging for lithium batteries. There's guidelines for anything like that, whether it's your cell phone or, just a power tool with a lithium battery. You want to follow those things to the T because lithium batteries can be super dangerous if they explode. I had a friend whose parents had a house they had a small fire in like their laundry room area from just a simple lithium battery that was for a power tool that they left on a charger too long,
Mm-hmm.
So once you get a battery charge, take it out. And even if you can, like you want to a lot of times disconnect it too. Like if you have a box, like even Brad should probably in his power box disconnect that battery once it's charged. Because you never know. Like all the horror stories, people having faulty batteries, and their cell phones catching fire, and crazy things like that. It's no joke. There's a reason why there's restrictions on lithium batteries coming across on airplanes, or how many they can. When I bought the GoPros, they can only ship so many lithium batteries in one package.
Yeah.
And those things are the size of like a matchbook. They're tiny.
That's why it's so expensive to ship that stuff too. It's just because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
I think they ship it by ground.
Yeah, and I mean, it's you. I don't think you can have them flown whatsoever. So, and there's a reason for that because there is a dangerous factor towards them. But that's not to say SLA batteries don't have a danger factor. Any battery really, So just make sure you properly store them, properly charge them, take care of the battery, and they'll last. So
I actually sold my old battery to Noob, and it cost me $15 to ship it to Tennessee. I was like, good grief.
To be honest with you, it's not that bad. I thought it'd have been more. So
yeah, it's not too bad. I ended up selling the battery to him. I made like $5 after the shipping because I didn't know. I was like, don't worry about it.
Well, it depends on how you ship it to. Like, I know, did you UPS it or do it to the post office?
Post office, I think.
The post office tends to charge more. I sent Brian a Plano Edge box, and it was $9 to ship it. So,
yeah,
I think that it was kind of due to the size of the box. I grabbed a box that I had here and put a bunch of packing material in it, like leftover packing material from all the purchases we tend to make. And so the box is a little on the big side for the Plano Edge box, but I just wanted to make sure it didn't get damaged because it's plastic, and I just didn't. Yeah, I don't trust UPS or any of those guys not to just toss a box. So,
dude, my brother works for FedEx and he's sending me Snapchats. I'm like, dude, you guys are idiots. Oh man, I'm not even gonna say anything more.
You got anything else you want to add about any other experiences, or?
No, I was gonna mention the other brands because we're not gonna be biased here.
Yeah.
Benio, I think Sam's on their team now. Amped Outdoors is a popular one right now. So.
Yeah. There's a few companies out there that make lithium batteries too, and but like Brad mentioned before, you run a fish finder, maybe you're on a budget, there's nothing wrong with using an SLA. Just look at it this way though, those batteries will not last very long, especially if you're rough on them. If you don't charge them and store them properly, like I did, obviously you'll shorten the life of the battery. And when it goes, it goes. So like you have the potential to be in the middle of a tournament, sitting there fishing, and boom, your fish finder's gone. You might have had a full charge, or something, and it just went dead in no time. So Be budget conscious, obviously, but if you can save the extra money and run a lithium battery, I would recommend to do that, just on the sheer fact of how much lighter it is. And something that's important is when you're out there kayak fishing, keeping your boat as light as possible. It kind of helps with the danger factor, like safety wise. You get those boats, especially if you're a big dude pushing 300 pounds, or something like that. You're, 6'5", 300 pounds, and you've got 100 pounds of gear, man. You start pushing that envelope of what those kayaks can handle. I know a lot of them around the 400 to 500 capacity for weight. So keep that in mind. It's not a bad idea if you could get out and take all your gear and weigh it, if you can. I think I did that last year and found that I had close to 50 pounds worth of gear.
Jeez.
That was what that old battery pack, and the fish finder, all the accessories, all my tackle, like I put it all on the scale, and it was, easily pushing close to 50 pounds. So,
I'm kind of interested to see how much mine weighs, because Brian always makes fun of how heavy my 127 is.
Yeah, that thing is heavy.
It's 94 pounds without the gear.
Right. And then, but you also, luckily you're a light enough guy, you're a small enough person that you'll have trouble pushing that max capacity weight. But if you're a big dude and you're on one of these kayaks, and then you start putting on a torpedo, and you got a torpedo battery, and then you got a fish finder battery,
That's a different story, because the torpedo and the battery together is only 16 pounds.
Yeah, but I'm saying, though, like, as you add all your other stuff up, that's where, like, buying a lithium battery for your fish finder, as opposed to having 24 amp hours worth of SLAs that weighs 26 pounds, like that box weighed more than a torpedo and battery setup completely. That's crazy to think about that.
It's funny because, like, these different kayak brands, Hobie and the Native Titan, they both weigh like what, 120, 130, 140 maybe. And then with all your gear, and if you're using sealed lead acid batteries, man, that's gonna be pretty heavy.
It's a heavy boat. That's when you're definitely carting it. You ain't having fun trying to carry it to the water.
I hate carrying mine to the water, dude, and it's only 94.
Yeah. Mine is, I think, the same weight as yours, but for some reason it carries better than what my Coosa HD does. Me and Mike Grimsley went on a river trip on Sunday, and he's like, dude, this thing's light. And I'm like, it's heavier than the Coosa HD, but I think it's just the way it's balanced out with it being longer and stuff and wider. It feels lighter. I don't know why, but it's almost 10 pounds heavier than what my Coosa HD was. So
interesting.
I do think, though, that the seat setup on mine, the seat is actually technically a little bit lighter than the seat in the Coosa was.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but that's not that much difference. But
no, I'm trying to cut weight this year, so I'm probably going to be in a RS 117 here soon, hopefully.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
But that's all I got.
Cool, man. Well, it was a good episode. Hopefully we shed some light on, our battery experiences for our listeners. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to Brad or I, or through Paddle Fin Podcast as well. We have multiple people that can answer your questions. They use all kinds of different batteries. Brad will link in the video of how, lithium batteries are made or whatever. And if you guys want to throw up some suggestions or anything else that you guys have seen that's different, feel free to throw it up on the post that we do for the show in the morning, and spread the knowledge, man. It's what we're here for, and it's kind of what Brad and I's episode's all about, is just our experience with certain types of gear and accessories and whatnot. And it opens a lot of eyes. I kind of look at the point of, man, I wasted a lot of money on those SLAs that all I had to do is save up $100 extra, man, and that would have saved a lot of, just stress over that stupid battery setup. So
I would have loved to have episodes like this when I first started getting into kayak fishing.
Yeah.
'Cause I wasted so much money, man, when I first started.
That's how
crazy.
it goes. You go through it, and it's but like you mentioned before, the budget thing is important to people, and some people just don't have the funds or the ability to do that. So we're not ever going to knock one thing over another. We're just going to share our experience. Like, I ran SLA batteries. I ran it for a year. I didn't like it, and then I switched because of and it was a learning experience. And that's why we want to do episodes like this for our listeners, because you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes a good point. I'll just save up $150 extra dollars, dude, and just get the nice battery. And now I know that I have 11-year warranty backing it up, instead of worrying about that SLA dying in a year. Because, I mean, really, if you end up, how much cost do you think you spent on batteries by itself before you got Dakota lithium batteries?
Jeez, man. Probably a couple hundred.
Easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. So, we're by no means experts either. It's just our experiences.
Yep.
But I think we are going to get Dakota Lithium on a show here soon. Highlight their products, talk to them.
Heck yeah. They have all kinds of different stuff too. A lot of cool different battery setups. And I jumped on the website the other day, and I was just like, I'm amazed at some of the setups they have, especially those bigger battery setups, man.
Yeah. Yeah. They're nice for trolling motors and stuff.
Yeah.
I want one. Awesome.
All right. Well, we just want to thank everybody for listening to the episode again. And with that, Brad and I'll sign out. And you guys have a good weekend. And if you're in any tournaments, good luck and be safe out there.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.